Welcome to SAPUI5 tutorial for the beginners. So, so in the last tutorial we were talking about the page and HBox and VBox. So in an XML language, right? So we can call it as a tags. Here, page by page, a page is a tag, right? And content is a subtag of this particular page tag. So again, HBox is a subtag of content tag. So but we are developing a web GUI with the help of SAP UI5, right? So if you can deeply look into this page, so what is this page, right? So in SAP UI5 terminology, I can say, so SAP UI5 terminology, this page is nothing but a control. Okay, so each and every tag in here, so not each and every tag, the most of the tags in here, like so page by page, and this page and this HBox and this VBox and this label and this button, and each and every these tags can be called as a controls. Okay, and in here content is nothing but it's an aggregation. So let's have a look into this particular page tag. I can say it's a control. Okay, so in case if you want to find all the available controls in SAP UI5, so there is a documentation provided for that. So what is that? So this is SAP UI5 documentation SDK. Okay, so if you go to this documentation and API reference, right? So let's go to the page. So because we were talking about the page tag in here, but in here in this particular API we are looking for this page, right? So if you see here, there is a class called page, so which is belongs to a package called sap.yum package, right? So that means what, a page is nothing but a class, and since this page extends a control class, so that is the reason we are calling it as a control. Okay, so see here, this page is nothing but a class, this page is nothing but a control, and it exactly it is a class, right? So now, so why do we call it as, so though it is a class, why we are calling it as a control, right? So let me go back to the paint, MS Paint. Yeah, so in here, so let's say there is if you have an idea, regarding OOPS or object oriented programming language, so let's say there is a class called vehicle. Okay, so vehicle. Okay, so let's say there is a class called vehicle. A vehicle can be a bicycle, or it's a car, or it's a bus, right? A vehicle can be a vehicle can be a bicycle, or a vehicle can be a car, a vehicle can be a bus, right? So but what is the, see, why we are calling either cycle as, why we are calling bus as a vehicle, or car as a vehicle, or cycle as a vehicle? So because these are all the subclasses of this particular vehicle. So if you put aside the technical terminology, so vehicle, what is a vehicle? A vehicle is something which will take you to some destination, right? So either you can go by a bicycle, or you can go by a car, you can go by a bus. So but these three are, it's like the way you are going to operate this car and bicycle and bus is different. So but the main purpose of this is the same. So that is the reason we are calling all these three things as a vehicle, right? That means what, so there is some common properties of all these particular, there are some common properties, so in all these three things, so which are there in this particular vehicle. So that is the reason, no matter whether it is a cycle or a car or a bus, it will be called as a vehicle. So in the same way, if you consider this one, so this is, page is a subclass of a control, right? So the way how we are calling by, cycle as a vehicle over here, so in the same way we are calling page as control in here, right? So now let's go to the XML. Yes, so in here page is nothing but a control in SAP UI5. So then what about this? So normally in XML, so we call it as an attribute, right? So if you go here, let's search for this one. Okay, copy this and then control F, control V, search title. So we found something here. If you go to little down in here, yes, you can find the properties. right? So there is a property called title. So in the same way, there is a property called title level, right? So that means what? Every attribute inside this XML is a property inside this particular implementation. I can say inside this particular control. Okay, so like this, like title, how many we have? There are so many properties. So let's talk about a few. So let's say show now button, right? So this is a property of type boolean. So that means what? This is a property which can accept either true or false. Okay, in case if you want to configure this property inside your page, inside your XML, let's give that property, and in here place true. Okay, by default it is false. Now we are making it true. So now go back to this screen and then refresh the browser. So you can see, so there is a back button displayed. So earlier there was no back button, right? So that means this control has different properties. Where you can find all the properties, go to the documentation and go to this particular class and then see over here all the properties. That means whichever the properties you have here, you can configure it over here so that you can see the effect in your output. Okay, that is about these attributes. And then if you see the content, so what is this content by content? Again, it's a subtag in XML, right? So but if you go to the implementation, there is something called as aggregations, right? So inside these aggregations there is something called as content, right? So content by content is one of the aggregations of the page control. So like this, how many aggregations are there? There are 5 more aggregations. In case if you want to use this 5 more aggregations, you can use these aggregations inside your XML. So each and every aggregation has a different purpose behind it. So let's take the footer for example, right? So let's take the footer and go back to this screen and then see here content by content. So the way how you are defining all the attributes in the same level, you have to define all the aggregations in a same level. That means it's like a subtag inside this. Okay, footer by footer. So inside this footer, so what you can define inside this content, you have defined hbox and all, right? So inside this footer, so which kind of control it with this footer will accept? So let's go back to the documentation and see here. So it will accept the elements of type or the controls of type sap.em.bar. You just paste it over here. So let's see. So this is a one. So let's go here, and if you can see here, this is an interface. So we should not use the interfaces. Let's go to the implementations. So there are two implementations. What is that? Toolbar. So again, this is SAP M toolbar. So let's copy this and then go here. This is again a control. So go here and inside this footer, paste it the tool, create a toolbar. Okay. Oh, not is this, not this. Sorry, only copy this and paste it here, right? So toolbar by toolbar. So now toolbar is again a control, right? So let's go to the toolbar and see what is the aggregations and properties of this particular toolbar. So width, active, enable, height, design, and everything is there. So now don't define anything. So what you do is, so you just save the file and go back to the browser and refresh the browser. See, you can define, you can see there is a footer rendered for this particular page, right? So now in case if you want to give a button, so let's go to the footer, toolbar, and in here there is again an aggregation called content. So in case if you want to configure the aggregations for one particular control, then obviously go to the XML file in here. So every aggregation is nothing but a subtag in it, right? Content by content. Save it, and then content, if you go to this one content, it will accept every control. So you can define any control in here. So then, so what I will do is I'll simply create a button. So what I'll do is I'll just simply copy paste it here. Okay, so button, so what I can do is instead of click me, let's say save this, and don't use this press button, or use the press button as well. Save this and go back to the screen and refresh this. So you can see there is a save button displayed. So now in case if you want to align this button to the right, then obviously you need to give a space at the left, right, in the left side. So what you can do is go to this particular XML file and then content in here. So in case if you want to give a space, there is something called as toolbar spacer. Toolbar. Okay, let's search for that. So instead of typing in here, there is something called as toolbar spacer. See, there is something called as toolbar spacer. So configure this. This is again type of, it is again a control, right? So then go here, this, since this content accept all, what is that, all controls, so that is the reason I'm using this toolbar spacer control to give a space in the left side of this footer. So now come here and then refresh the browser. See, you can see this is aligned in the right side. So let's say in case if you want to align this save button inside, in the center of this particular footer, then obviously what will you do? So what you do is give a space in the right side. So it will occupy the equal spaces in the right and left, and then button will be center aligned. See now, see. So now when we click on this button, so we are calling again this particular callback handler, if you can see here, right? So that means this one and this one is same. So that means what? So either you click here or click here, it will get increased. See here, the count is getting increased. You can see here, right? Yes. See. So in this tutorial, so what we learned is what is a tag. A tag is nothing but a control, and every attribute is nothing but a property in it, and every subtag like content and footer, these are all nothing but an aggregations of the control. So then if you go to this page control again, page, sorry, not page control, only page, and then here, so it has something called as events. That means this page has something called as events. In case if you want to configure the events, so you can configure at the control level, that means at the tag level. So that means what? So nav button tap, that means what? Navigation button tap. So if you, let's say if you click on this navigation button, so what's going to happen? So we should go back, right? So in case if you want to write that code, then obviously you have to use that particular event. So that means in case if you want to configure the event, come here, events should be configured as the way, event should be configured the way we configure the attributes or properties. So here what I will do is handle, so I'm gonna give the callback handler here. The name of the callback handler is, so handle navigation back. Okay, handle, sorry, it's nav back. Okay, so copy this, and since for this particular view this is a controller, and go here and then paste it and then create a function with the same name, if you cti1. Okay, so I have created a function, and then by default it will accept an argument called oEvent. Okay, this is the name of the argument. Okay, what I will do is I'll simply put alert. Okay, alert, and then here, so navigation back. Okay, save this and go back to the browser and refresh this, and now what you do is click on this. So you can see, so whenever you click on this particular back button, you are getting this alert. That means what? So the corresponding functionality should be written in this particular callback handler. Okay, so in this tutorial what we learned is how to configure the attributes and events and then aggregations. Okay, so that means what? A control. Okay, that means what? A control. Okay, so let's say this is a control. Control has different parts. So let's say the first one is, I can say, a properties. Every control has a properties. Every control can have an aggregations. Every control can have an events, and every control can have an associations. Okay, so that means every control can have properties. Every control can have aggregations, and the control may have events, and the control may have um, associations. Okay, so it is not mandatory that the control should have the events or should have the associations and aggregations. It is optional, so it is depending upon the control. Okay, so the control has been divided into these four parts, and one is the property section, and the second one is aggregation section, and the third one is event section and associations section. Okay, so now let's have a look at this page and page. So if you can see here, so there are we haven't defined any prefix for this. We are directly using the page. But if you can see here, there are so many libraries which we have configured in this particular view. That means what? So there is a library called SAPUI.core which is referred with the help of core. So there is this particular library which is referred with the help of MVC. So there is, let's say in case if you want to define another library, you can give some name. So but if you can see here sap.yum library which does not have any prefix in here, that means which is not referred by anything, but that means by default you can directly use the tags like this. That means if you don't use any prefix in here, and it will directly point to SAP-yum library. So let's say there is something called as icon. Okay, so icon is in SAP UI core library. Icon. Okay, so icon is there. So if you want to give the icon, there is something called as source. Okay, SAP hyphen icon colon, so add. So since we are not giving anything in here, so it will directly point to sap.yum, right? So but icon is not there in SAP-yum library. In case if you want to see this one, just go to this documentation and see here. So icon is not in here, but icon is in here SAP core. And there are different, as icon is there in different packages, but we are going to use this particular icon. So it is belong to SAP UI core, but SAP UI core is referred by this particular core, but we are not using this. Now that means what? Now we are gonna get an error. So let's go there and then refresh the browser. Let's see what's going to happen. See, it's not rendering. If you want to see the errors, go to console. That means press F12. So here go to the console. It clearly says that, so it is looking for SAP colon, say SAP slash m slash icon. So it is saying that it is not found over there. So that means what? So this particular icon belongs to core library and it is trying to search in SAP yum library, which is not there. So that is the reason we are not able to see the output. So in case if you want to clear this error, so let's go here and give a prefix core colon, and in here in the ending tag also core colon. Save this. Now this particular icon will be referred to this particular SAP UI core. So let's go back to the browser and refresh the browser. You can see there is a icon rendered in here, right? So that's it for this tutorial. So let's meet in the next tutorial. Thanks for watching.